It was for us diplomats, for all those dealing with nuclear weapons at that time, it was a serious challenge. Because we could not compare at that time neither with the manpower nor with the experience with such a powerful diplomacies like American diplomacy and Russian diplomacy, so which used to be the Soviet Union diplomacy. And for us, this was a considerable challenge. We had to acquire knowledge, experience, on the march. Well, I would compare nuclear weapons in Ukraine at that period of time in Ukraine as a kind of like a suitcase without a handle. It was, we were of the opinion that it is a value, a geopolitical, geostrategic value. But at the same time, we came to a conclusion that we cannot control this value, that somebody in Moscow has the control over this value being stationed on our territory. And of course, we saw nuclear weapons as a kind of safeguard against any possible act of aggression against Ukraine. So this was a kind of asset for us. What were Ukraine's motivations behind this process of denuclearization? First of all, the Declaration on State Sovereignty, when Ukraine was still a part of the former Soviet Union, was a kind of political, I would say, message. You know that in this declaration, for the first time, Ukraine has declared that it is going to be a non-nuclear weapon state, adhering to 3 non-nuclear weapons principles. So for us, for Ukrainians, this declaration, the whole declaration, as well as these 3 non-nuclear weapon state principles, were a kind of message to Moscow that we are not going to share with Moscow the Soviet legacy being in one state. So we separated ourselves from the Soviet Union as such, and we were preparing ourselves for independent development. So this was the motivation behind the Declaration on State Sovereignty. Well, we saw this process of nuclear weapons in Ukraine as, and for me it was very, very important, either independence or nuclear weapons. Because in order to keep nuclear weapons on our soil, we had to bow to Moscow and to ask Moscow to serve these nuclear weapons, because we didn't have the possibilities to serve, especially nuclear warheads and tritium zapaly. Triggers, yeah. So, either independence without nuclear weapons, or nuclear weapons without independence. So this was the question for us in Ukraine.